All right, everybody, I'm going to call the meeting
Recording in progress.
Okay. I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Select Board meeting of Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. And with me, I have Craig Schultz, who is our Vice Chair. I am Erin Underhill, the Chair. We have Mike Kaczynski, our Town Administrator, and Karen Bray DeMarzo, our Operations Manager. I don't personally have any announcements to start with. Do you have anything, Craig?
No, I don't.
Okay. All right. So we'll go right into our schedule here. So first, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Kaczynski for the appointment of the Assistant Town Administrator / Human Resources Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As everyone's aware, at the recent spring annual town meeting, we had, the funding was approved for the new position in the town of the Assistant Town Administrator, HR Manager. The town has never had a person with the focus on HR to that level. Up until this point, the HR functions have been split up into many different departments, and it has led to a challenging situation. So I was very happy that the board supported this and it was approved by town meeting. Back in the middle of May, I began the process of doing an internal application. We did have several applicants. I did establish an interview team for that process consisting of Mr. Michael Boynton, who's the town manager of Medway next door, Ms. Vanessa Hale, the assistant town administrator of Southborough, Massachusetts, Chair Underhill, and myself. We conducted those interviews, and at the conclusion of those interviews, it was unanimously recommended to me that Karen Bray DeMarzo be appointed as the first assistant town administrator HR manager for the town of Millis. One of the deciding factors in the decision was Karen's 8+ years of direct experience working in the select board and town administrator's office, where she has negotiated successfully the difficult, sometimes chaotic, and extraordinarily busy environment of this office. And also her continuing education, which is highlighted by her recent successful completion of the Mass Municipal Association's Suffolk University Master's Certificate in Local Government Leadership and Management Program, which I think you just went to the graduation last week. To me, that shows her strong commitment to further her professional skills and advancement in this field. So I think that provides her with a solid foundation to excel in this role. And based on all of that, I have decided to appoint Karen DeMarzo to this position, and I'm requesting that the board vote to ratify the appointment this evening.
Excellent. Any questions?
No.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of Karen DeMarzo for the Assistant Town Administrator, Human Resource Director.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Great. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I've served the town, like I said, it's for 8 years in the select board's office. 6 years prior to that, I was in the payroll position. So I've been here almost 14 years in August, and I'm excited to continue to serve the town and to work with the team here and serve the residents of Millis. So thank you.
Awesome. All right. Next, we have the appointment of an interim firefighter, Mr. Kaczynski.
Yes, Madam Chair. Just to briefly read a memo from the fire chief. Over the last year, the fire department has had a firefighter out on an on-the-job injury, and the department's been filling the open shifts with overtime and all on-call members to ensure that we have adequate staffing for all the shifts. We do expect that this firefighter will be retiring shortly, and there will be an open position to fill within the next few months. The chief's requesting that this position be filled with a temporary firefighter until the permanent appointment can be made. One of the on-call members, Brandon Green, has been filling most of the open shifts, and at this point is a leading candidate for the open position. The chief is requesting that Brandon Green be appointed as a temporary full-time firefighter for the Millis Fire Department. So I am making that appointment and asking the board to ratify that appointment this evening for a temporary firefighter position.
Okay. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of Brandon Green as a temporary firefighter for the town of Millis. I'm assuming he has all of his necessary.
Since he's on call, he's
Yeah.
already got all his
Yeah.
requirements. Yeah.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and our next appointment is the appointment of a deputy plumbing/gas inspector, and I have Mr. Giampetro to speak to that, please.
Good evening. In the past, we've been having some issues with the plumbing and gas inspectors being available. We have two others. We have our plumbing and gas inspector, Tim Costello, who's there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, does inspections in the mornings. With the amount of work that we have going on, as you know, a couple of months ago, we're in a bind where the other two inspectors were unavailable, so I had you appointed Joe Zaccilli from Milford temporarily for a couple of months, and he filled in. He's available in the afternoons to do inspections. We got, as you know, a bunch of 40Bs coming up. We have a lot of construction going on. So to have a better hold of giving better customer service, you know, we really need somebody who's available in the afternoon. You know, Coakley's runs his own business and he's out straight. Good kid, Jimmy Coakley. He's the Medway inspector as well. And Jack Rose, the inspector in Medfield, and he does another town, so they're all busy. Joe does do Milford, but he is available in the afternoon, so if we ever get in another bind, we can always call him. And, you know, the position's paid per inspection. It's $40 an inspection, so it's not gonna cost the town any money. Just when they go out and do inspections, we give them the $40 fee. So I would recommend Joe be appointed instead of temporarily, you know, on, as one of our plumbing and gas inspectors. So he'll be available to fill in when nobody else is.
Okay, excellent. And Joe's last name again?
Zaccilli,
Zaccilli.
yeah.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I request that the board ratify that appointment of Joe Zaccilli as one of the assistant or deputy plumbing gas inspectors.
Okay, any questions?
I'll make a motion to ratify the appointment of Joe Zaccilli as deputy plumbing and gas inspector.
Okay, I'll,
Subject to a query and a physical?
I think he had those when he was on the last time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he must.
Oh, he's
have.
already
He's
did,
been-
yeah.
he's
You
been
want him to do it
employed.
again?
He's not, no, if he's not.
No.
No.
all right, I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, so I'm moving on to that
Yes.
next.
Oh,
Okay, or
No, this, and then after this.
That.
Yeah.
Move down
Okay.
to, yeah,
That.
this.
Okay, so the next thing we have are just a few more appointments. So we have the appointment of the Council on Aging member. That is, hold please.
It's Meredith St. Silver.
Yes. So Meredith St. Sever has been participating in COA board meetings and volunteering in numerous programs for the past several months. And from our Director of the Council on Aging, it says that our eagerness and enthusiasm would be a great addition to the Council on Aging Board. So with that, we would be looking to make that appointment this evening.
I'll make the I'll move that we appoint Meredith St. Sever to the COA board.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That passes unanimously. The next appointment. Hold, please.
Got scared, I saw the name Craig, and I didn't get the second line. I thought, what am I being appointed to?
Okay. The next appointment is for the Energy Committee, and that is for Mr. Pete Germain to be on the Energy Committee. Would Mr. Weiss speak to this, or do I just?
I don't think, Bob, do you have any comments on it, or you're all set? You'll let your letter speak for itself.
No, it's okay, I can read your letter. Okay,
All
all right. Okay. So from the energy manager, on behalf of the members of the Millis Energy Committee and its chair, it is being requested that we appoint Mr. Pete Germain to the Energy Committee. They voted unanimously to nominate him for membership. He has served the Energy Committee for the past 3 years as the Select Board's representative, and the members feel that his experience in technology and energy, along with his contributions to the committee's discussions, will make him a valuable contributor to the committee's work. So I will move that we appoint Pete Germain to the Energy Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Pete to the Energy Committee. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. The next appointment, oddly enough, is also for Pete Germain, because he wasn't busy enough before. So this one is for an at-large member of the Capital Planning Advisory Committee. So we have the approval of that committee to add Pete as an at-large Capital Planning Advisory Committee member. So I move that we appoint Pete to the Capital Planning Advisory Committee.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Pete Germain to the Capital Planning Advisory Committee. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. So, Mr. Germain, congratulations. You are now on 2 committees.
Madam Chair, just a note,
Yes.
we have at least 2 other committees that are looking for members. Pete, unless you're interested.
Yeah.
One is for the Economic Development Committee. We just had a resignation on that, so we do have an opening for that. And Finance Committee is still looking for a member. So if you're interested, if anyone's interested in that, go to millisma.gov under Jobs and Volunteers and fill out the form, or you can just send an email to me directly if you'd like.
Okay.
And we'll get you hooked up.
Excellent. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Next, we are actually going to switch around the agenda just to...
Actually, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, we probably should take the hearing first, since it's set at 7:10.
Oh, okay, yep.
And then right after that, if we could
Okay.
switch to the other.
Okay, so next, we have the fiscal year '23 water, sewer, stormwater rate hearing, and speaking to that will be Mr. McKay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I would ask, I think if you have to read the opening comments, but we would ask a delay in that till your next meeting, and we'll be ready with that.
Okay, so we move to open, then move to,
I move to open the meeting and then continue it until the hearing until your next regular meeting, which I believe is July 18th.
okay. All right, I move that we open the water, sewer, stormwater rate hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to open the hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And per the recommendation, I move to continue the hearing to our July 18th, 2022 meeting
And I recommend a time of 7:30 PM.
at
to set the
7:30
time.
PM.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to continue this to July 18th at 7:30 PM. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, and now I'm just going to move one quick thing around here on our agenda. I am going to move Ms. Fogarty up. We're going to consider establishing a gift account for the Millis Recreation Department.
Good evening, Chris Fogarty, Millis Recreation Director. I am requesting tonight to implement a gift fund for the Recreation Department. Throughout the year, we seek out funding from local banks and companies for specific sponsorships. As you know, we just dissolved the revolving fund, so I'd like to establish an account for when we do receive these donations or sponsorships, that they go directly into a specific account to ensure that the funds get allocated properly.
Yes, and Madam Chair?
Yes.
This would be a gift fund account for the Recreation Department in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A.
Okay.
Is there a limit set on those, like there is with revolving funds?
There is
No?
not.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to establish a gift fund for the rec department in accordance with,
Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A.
That one. Okay.
All right, second. It's been moved and seconded to establish the gift account for the Millis Recreation Department. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, and next, we have Mr. Simpson to discuss the Cemetery Committee presentation of the new plan for Section G.
Thank you. Be all right to sit here and use this mic?
Sure. Oh, look at that, you got another one.
Okay. I wondered if Jim McKay had some words to say on this before I speak?
Mr.
I'll
McKay?
be brief. Let Wayne get into the technical aspects of this. I can tell you that Mr. Simpson and the committee, we've been working on this project for many, many, many years. It's been, we cleared what we're calling Section G, and he'll get more in depth than that. I would say about 8 to 10 years ago. And we believe that now that the soil and the roots have settled, where the old trees were, we're ready to lay this section out. I believe that, the chair now is a member of this committee, and she's been well aware of what's been going on in the past several meetings. We talk about it every time we meet, but it's finally going to be moved forward, and it's great that this is going to happen. So I'll turn it over to Wayne, and he'll get into the technical part of the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
I'm gonna share the screen here, Wayne, I think.
Okay.
Let's try this. I should know how to do this by now. Ah, there we go.
There you go.
Ah, a little time delay. Perfect.
All right. Thank you very much. Before I begin, there's a couple of notes I want to make. First, I want to thank the other members of the Cemetery Committee who've worked diligently with me on this project, especially Aaron Underhill, who is the Select Board designee to the Cemetery Committee. Thanks also to Karen for her work in coordinating everything between Jim McKay, myself, and everything. Thank you, Karen.
You're welcome.
And congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you, Wayne.
Okay. Also, the other members of the committee, Jim, of course, Jeff Mushnick, John Doyle, Charlie Vecchi, and, of course, Aaron. And everybody has worked together to get to this point. Okay, so I do a lot of volunteer work at the cemetery. I've been doing it for about, Marsha Collins, I'm sorry, for about 60 years. Worked there when I was 15. 2 generations before that worked in there, so the Simpson family's been around for a long time. This particular section of the cemetery is Section G, which is located between E, the Jewish section, and Section F. So what happened was we went out and we captured all the raw field data, and we have a perimeter here that is shown around the edge of there. It's bordered by Section E, by the roadways on 2 sides there. And then after doing that, there was a, yeah, thank you very much for doing that. We had a number of options for laying it out in different configurations, and we decided at the end of it that we would use the one that we have here tonight, which is basically a back-to-back, monument back-to-back layout. So as you can see, there's a roadway, a service roadway that goes right up through the middle. And also, there's a small section of it that goes out onto the roadway. There it is there. I don't know if I could point I can point it to this, but I should be pointing it to that there, if that would work. But anyway, the roadway goes right up through the middle, and there's also access about a quarter of the way up on the right-hand side. There are 408 lots shown on this particular layout, and they're all 90 degrees to one another. And so you'll see when you look carefully that there is some alternating red and green stripes. The red stripes are what we call a monument row, and the green stripes are an open area to give you extra room in between the lots. Now, the theory is that you'll have monuments lined up back to back, but about 5 feet apart. Naturally, the front of the stones will have the main name on it, and the back will have the other information. But the reason for this layout is for the ease in digging the lots. As you can see on section E and section F, the lots are all pretty well congested. It's okay when the lots are not really densified and there's only a few there. But as those lots begin to fill up, it's quite difficult for the DPW to get in there and to dig the lots and the graves efficiently without disturbing the surrounding graves. To that point, I may say that the town has just acquired a new subcompact mini excavator, which is going to be used for the excavation, or some of them anyway, in the cemetery, so it should work out quite well there. So the point is that right now, it's an open area, a mounded area, but as it densifies, the equipment will go up the service road and turn right or left and go in and have like a 20-foot space between the stones to adequately dig the graves and you know, keep everything in pretty good shape. So that's the way that sets up, and we think it's going to work out quite well. We had a couple of options that didn't look so good to us. We visited other cemeteries to see what their problems are and how they're solving it. So this is our setup. Down in the lower right is what we call the infant baby section. There's a number of graves there, and so we had to make a decision on some expansion. So you'll see an area outlined on blue in the lower right-hand section, and that is for the for expansion of the infant baby section. So that is the layout. There's going to be stairways between section E on the right-hand side and our new location. At that point right there, that's so that you can go back and forth between those two sections. And also, out on the roadway towards section F is going to be a set of stairs out there, and that will be for access there. Depending on where a funeral is, you know, whichever access point will work will be the best one to use. So that is basically it. There are some things that we have to do before we get ready to sell any lots. One is we're going to have to stake and set 408 monument markers that Jim has already ordered them, and they're all numbered, and so those all have to go in for each lot. The other thing is we have a water line, believe it or not, that crosses right through it, because there used to be a roadway that crossed over, and they put a water line there, but now we have to reroute it down around the bottom, if you will, and up over to section 8. The water line supplies water to section F, so we have to reroute the water line. We have one tree there that needs to come out, a small tree in the middle, and a little work on the service road entry there on the right-hand side there. So we also worked in conjunction with the Jewish community and Jeff Mushnick in the construction of a new 100-foot, 4-foot wide exposed concrete walk between section E and G. The Winnica family had donated the money for that, so we worked with them on that so that it would also blend in well with our section G. So we think that's going to work pretty well, and that's basically what it's all about.
Excellent. Are there any questions?
No.
No?
That's very clear.
I was gonna say, Madam Chair, I just wanted
Yes.
to note that this is all hand-drawn, is it not?
That's right, right.
It's amazing.
Extremely impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one thing that I really wanted to, and I'm not looking for accolades to be showered on myself, but anything that you see on this plan, from start to finish, is zero cost to the taxpayers of Millis. Oh, yes, it
Yes.
paid for the markers, but anything else is purely done voluntarily, because I was in engineering. So all the engineering and the design and the drawing is all done in-house with no expense. So I'm kind of happy to do something for the town, plus I like working there anyway, so.
Thank you so much for that. And
Thank you.
you weren't here on the meeting, but I've previously sung the praises
Yeah.
of the cemetery committee and the work that you do. And
Well.
I think I specifically talked about these plans that were hand-drawn that I
Yeah.
really couldn't believe existed.
Yeah.
So fabulous work, and
So-
thank you so much.
Looking forward someday to the IT department in the town so that we can upgrade to GIS, GPS, and do a lot of this kind of work in-house.
Yeah.
Those days are coming.
Yes.
But, so that's all I have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I really
Okay.
appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you, Scott Fusey, 411 Union. I want to thank Jim and his staff, Steve Main, Wayne Simpson. Anytime you go up there, they're working hard. The cemetery's never looked as great as it does. The work that goes into it, anytime I've gone up, because my family's up there, Wayne's up there, he's very approachable, so ask a question. So thank you, Jim, Wayne, Steve, and all the guys that really do the work up there. It takes volunteers, and people don't realize it. And people will come from other towns and compliment how good our cemetery looks compared to some of the communities. So thank you to the staff, we really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, awesome. Next, we have the initial informational presentation for the MBTA Communities Rezoning Initiative, and we will have Mr. Weiss speak to that.
There you go.
If I can, share. If I can put my glasses on, then we'll share it. Okay. Well, good evening. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And I am Bob Weiss. I'm Economic Development Director, Planning Director, and Energy Manager for the town. And I think, as I present this is actually the second time that I have presented this. Back in the January 10th meeting, I first brought this up. And we talked about the timing that this bylaw is going to take. And there will be plenty of opportunity for us to discuss issues and get into some of the details, as there will be plenty of questions, as there already are. And so the first thing I want to do is dispel misconception and explain a little bit about show you some samples of what 15 units per acre is. And what you see here are samples of developments in some of our neighboring communities at 15 per acre. Really what we have here is what we know as traditional neighborhood development. A couple of these are mixed use, so the one in Lexington, for instance, kind of looks a little bit like what we have across the street from here at 961 Main Street, the Centennial Plaza. And so this is pretty much what 15 units per acre it looks like. Not that we are married to 15 units per acre, by the way. The MBTA communities multifamily zoning change is Mass General Law 40A, Section 3A. Most of us call it just referred to as 40A, 3A. It's a piece of legislation that we hope will be adopted by the 175 towns that are in the MBTA community, of which we are one. The way I'm looking at it, it's also an opportunity for the Millis Town Center to be redeveloped pretty much in a gradual way. This is not going to happen overnight. But we've been talking about this. We did a study last year, if you remember, the Urban Land Institute study. And Economic Development Committee has been working on the redevelopment. And I can see how, and I hope folks over the next 16 months will understand how this legislation will work pretty well with the Millis Town Center redevelopment. But what I'd like to do tonight really is explain a little bit about what it is and what it is not. And first of all, it is a requirement. It's not necessarily a mandate, but it's a pretty strong requirement. It has its carrots and stick. For all the MBTA communities to create a sizable multifamily district, allowing by right a minimum of 15 units per acre development. That's residential, of course. I emphasize the word families, and so does the legislation, because what this is all about is housing for families in the Boston metropolitan area. The 15 units per acre is a minimum that comes out to about 750 units minimum that we need to make we need to accommodate for in our planning. And this we have a lot of choice in this. We could raise this at 20 if it seems to make sense to us. Under certain circumstances, it actually might. But what we get to do is maintain a lot of design control that the town has. So it's not necessarily mandating that, you know, you have to have 15 acres on this acre and this acre and this acre. So we will, again, over the next 16 months, have a lot of discussion about this. We can keep it, for instance, doing this in the town center, we can keep things at 3 stories if we want, or up to 5 stories. We have 5 stories now, or we had with the Herman Shoes was a 5-story building. So we can continue with that if we want. Again, we have a lot of control over what will happen. Now, what it doesn't do is it doesn't mean we have to build a certain number of multifamily units. What we have to do is create an area where it is relatively easy for developers to build multifamily housing. So that is what we'll call our capacity. Again, it does not necessarily mean that overnight we're going to have 2,000 people moving into our town center. If you see how development has happened over many years in Millis and in the Boston metropolitan area, you know, you get one development and then another development. So it'll be something we'll be able to work with gradually. We already have an area where most of this exists in the town center. We have the difference is that most of this, where it is allowed, is not by right, it is by special permit. So that means the planning board, the ZBA have some say over the developments that want to do this. But there are incentives there to actually go up to 15 units per acre already. But again, it is something that is up to a developer to ask of the planning board if they can do that. So there's incentives there to actually increase density. What this is not, and I'm probably going to be saying this many times over the next 16 months, this is not about affordable housing. Affordable housing is a 40B. We know about that. We see those developments coming into to Millis over the last couple of years especially. So what this is, if it's not affordable housing, it is providing homes that working families can afford. You know, your plumbers, engineers, technicians, video editors, social media, marketing managers, is what my children do, who are adults, and who cannot afford to buy a home in the Boston metropolitan area. So it's about, you know, salespeople, entrepreneurs, all sorts of people, mostly young families, who want to work here, but are finding it very difficult to find housing. There are some issues that we'll be thoroughly discussing in the next 16 months. And this is just a couple of them. The market. I've heard time and again in many of the committees that I've been to that we want to be a little bit more developer-friendly. And that's exactly what this is geared for. It doesn't give developers free rein by any means. This gives us a lot of control. But it will help. Right now, in the town center, we have 5 zoning districts, including the overlay MCEOD district. Makes it a little bit confusing just to look at Millis as a place to develop. So we'll be talking about the market and how that's going to work with 40A, 3A. We have site review, as I mentioned. We have site review and control. So we'll be able to actually define how big an area it's going to be. We'll define how high it's going to be if we want, and how if we want a traditional neighborhood development, which I'm pretty sure most everybody would like. We can have that, and there's a lot of other things that we can put onto this, into this bylaw. Businesses like to come to places that grow. And that's what having young families moving into a community will do. I know we've had a lot of growth by the numbers, but I haven't seen a lot of business come in, because a lot of that growth has been, you know, the over 55 communities. This legislation states family housing, so we cannot limit it to over 55 or anything like that, because they do want to encourage people who work in the Boston metropolitan area to come. And when they come, businesses will come along with it. Traffic is always a question, no matter what. Doesn't have to be development. Traffic is always a question. So we will have an opportunity to discuss this. I can explain those opportunities. I want to tell you a little bit about the campaign that we have planned. And of course, sewer capacity in Millis is going to be a question too. But these are all things that we can talk about, all things that we can work with. I think the big picture here really is the Boston metropolitan area is admired and respected worldwide. The travels I've had, I tell people I'm from Boston, you know, their eyes light up. So they know the area. But it still needs to thrive. We have a lot of industry. We've seen the loss of a lot of industry. Some of that is many reasons for that, but some of it is because they can't, the industries, the businesses here can't find the people to work there. We have, we have biotech, we have high tech, we have medical research, life sciences. They don't start people at $150,000 a year. They start them at normal salaries. I think the average median income for a single person in Massachusetts, I might be wrong about this, is about $60,000. That's not enough money that's barely enough money to pay the rent, let alone to buy a house. We have the highest housing costs in the country. We know this. We see this. For the last 30 years, we've been among the top 4 or at the top of the top 4. So no wonder businesses are having a hard time finding families. This legislation is geared towards reducing the cost of market-based housing. Not the value of the housing, but the reducing the cost of it. So I think with this legislation, If we do it thoughtfully and we do it deliberately, we will get it to fit Millis, and it will be, good for both the region and for the town.
Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
I do, I have a few. Are these rental units or ownership units or combination, or it doesn't matter?
They will be both.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one of the comments that was made at the Economic Development Committee was, I think that someplace in the law it mentioned the goal was to increase housing stock by 10% or something. At least that's what I picked up from the conversation with
Yeah.
Nicole. Which is like 350 units in Millis. It's not 750 that this would do. So the law seems to me to be great intent and somewhat poorly crafted in some areas like that. There's one town that Nicole Riley was citing where if they built out at this level, it'd be a 70% increase in the number of homes in the town. Because they don't have many homes, and 50 acres at 15 units would be a 70% increase to the size of the town. Not that that would necessarily happen, because again, this is if the developer builds it. But there's a few flaws that I saw in it. I like the concept a lot. Is there a mechanism to keep these, I want to be careful, not affordable by the legal definition of affordable, but lower cost homes? The last thing I want to see is somebody coming in and building $500,000, $800,000 condos in the middle of town, you know? I'd rather see, well, 500 is almost affordable now.
Yeah,
But, but, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I think, that, well, the market, that's
Yeah.
one of the things that we'll have to discuss. But also, if you take a look at a single property
Yeah.
right now, with a single-family house on it, it's worth, let's say it's worth $600,000. So if you're gonna put 3 houses on there, it's gonna have actually more value to the property. But if it's 3 houses, those houses are gonna cost a lot less than that $600,000.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure there was mechanism in place to keep it to the intent that you spoke of. And I believe the market rate will do it. I work in a town where the mayor of the town was talking about bringing in housing. He brought in a ton of housing, large apartments, condos, other things, that did make it affordable for people to live there. Houses, people who own individual family house, single-family homes still had all that value in their home, but somebody who's a school teacher or a web designer could actually afford to buy or rent something of very nice quality in the town also, because as you build the base, you rents and costs for those things become more affordable. I'd be careful when we say developer-friendly. I mean, we don't want to be pro-developer or anti-developer, but we don't want to give the impression this is being done, so we bring in more developers. I think the key point is we have a very confusing set of zoning with overlay districts and the underlying stuff, such. So it does make sense to clean it up, and if that's pro-developer, I wouldn't characterize as that. I'd characterize it as, you know, cleaning up our zoning so it's easily understood.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody, I think if you continue to use the phrase pro-developer, which it's not. I mean, this is an attempt to clean up the zoning and make it affordable for starting, you know, first-time homeowners. I think that's the key to it. I think that's the part that's important. As long as we stay true to those, I think it's worth pursuing and learning more about. Also, I just think you can't stress enough that it does not mean there'll be 750 units built. It just means there's the potential for that. But when you do it by right, there is the possibility. It's not that you can stop it at 500 if somebody wants, you know? Yeah.
If I may interject, I have everything Craig said sounds good.
Yeah.
However, knowing what our sewer capacity issues are, I find it extremely difficult to envision anything of volume happening here. Because depending on what this board decides to put in place for a policy, unless in the town center there's readily available space for a septic or a package treatment plant, I don't see how this would happen.
Unless there's offsets built elsewhere, you know, but you'd have to build a plant someplace.
Right,
But
right.
I don't think it's going to happen overnight. I don't think it's going to happen right away. But even if we pass this with the constraints we're talking about
Right,
for the
right.
sewer,
Yeah.
we're not thinking 6 years down the road. We're thinking, 30 years down the road when we're, hopefully neither of us are on the board at that point. But this zoning will be on the books. And so that's what we have to keep in mind.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's, is there a lawsuit pending? I heard that there was, some towns are suing on this to block it.
I've heard the same.
Yeah.
No lawsuits that I know of. There's a lot of pushback on
Yeah.
this, that's for sure. I mean, as soon as you put, it's not just the word developer, the word affordable. And once people hear affordable and housing, they think, uh-oh, it's 40B. They're throwing affordable housing out. So, and then all of a sudden you get all the pushback. You look at, you have to look at the broad and the big picture of the whole thing and why this is being done. It's gonna take some work on our part, right, to do this, just to get it through. And if everybody loved it, would still take a lot of work, because it's a zoning change, and that requires a town meeting, and it requires a whole process and procedure and protocol that we have to go through. I think Millis is really at a point where it could use something like this. And I'm going to deliver this presentation also to the school committee. And I think one of the things that we like to tell our kids, if it's going to rain lemons, you make lemonade. I think we have a good opportunity to do that right now. Actually, we can take advantage of it. I've talked to a couple of other planning departments and some of the surrounding communities, and they understand, they have a different situation than we do. And they understand our situation. When I tell them, I think this is gonna help us, they say, yeah, it quite well will. But for some of the other communities.
No, I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's a good thing to do. My only problem is with the 10% goal, but capping it at, but mandating 50 acres at 15 units. Those two pieces of the law contradict each other. And I don't know if there's any fine tuning that can be done.
So does this mean then that we have two 10%? Like we're supposed to have a 10% of actual affordable 40B housing, and we're supposed to have 10% of this?
No. They were talking about, I'm sorry, yes. 10% of it but this is 20% of this. They might be the same units. They might be the
Right.
same units. You can count them twice.
We have about
Yeah.
3,400
Yeah.
housing units right now.
Right now.
So as an adjacent MBTA community, what we're required to do is find an area that will fit 10%, or a minimum of 750.
It's not an or.
So that
That's the
10%.
problem. The problem is it's not an or. It's 10%, which is 340, and you have to set aside 50 acres zoned at 50.
50 acres would be the minimum. Right. I mean, we could do it on 50 acres.
But no, but once you say a minimum of 50 acres zoned at 15 units, you've now pushed it to 750.
Yeah.
And the or is the problem. If it was either, I don't know what the right word to use is, but there's a word in there that is exclusive. The lesser of 10% or 50 acres at 15 units per acre. So I think there's a lot of good points to it. I don't think there's anything wrong with the concept. I like the idea of houses that people can afford being built, putting aside the whole idea of affordable, but houses that people can afford, not the legal definition of affordable. I think all that's great. In fact, I think the bigger problem lies with housing that a new teacher in Brookline or other towns where there's over the limit for affordable, but just barely, there's nothing for them. When you are making 60,000 a year, you're over the affordable limit, but you can't buy a house.
Right.
So that's where it starts running into trouble. So I think there's a place for both, and you can count them towards both, because if you build a 350 unit development where 20%, 25% is affordable, all of that counts towards both goals.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of good points here. I just think that we have to explain it right, research it, find out if there's any wiggle room on this 50-acre minimum. Because 50 acres of dry buildable land here is also pretty extreme for Millis. I know it exists,
Right.
You overlay all of downtown and you can do it. But, and that's the other piece, it should be in a downtown area. This isn't something that would be built on a property that's untouched, you know, out in the Braun property, for example. It wouldn't have been built on something like that. That's the wrong location for something that is supposed to be in the urban center, or near the grocery stores, make it more of a developed downtown area, is kind of the idea behind
Yeah,
it.
that's why I say it's an opportunity for us here. to-
There's
to
a couple
develop where
lots
we
that
have
lend
the-
itself nicely.
Right, we
Right.
can
Yeah.
develop where we have the amenities
I
already.
do.
Yeah, so there's a couple lots that really lend itself nicely to this that would work well. And it's not saying that it has to happen, it just makes it available for a developer who wants to build it to do it, but we have to carefully craft what we're designing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
We do have a couple people in the audience. Did you guys have something on the agenda that you were interested in, or are you just watching?
We're watching, we're just trying to start to come to selectmen meetings. I'm Carolyn McNiff, this is my husband Sean McNiff. We live up on Timberline Road. So we're just trying to really start to come to the select meetings. No, we're right now in here.
Okay, all
I'm very
right.
interested in this presentation.
Okay, just wanted to check, that's all. All right, welcome. Thank you. All right, so that brings us to our open session items. So the next one we have is the review and approval of road paving contracts with Mr. McKay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think you have the presentation that was mailed out to you. So I would, first out, I would request that the Select Board approve the following for the FY23 annual street paving contract and allow the town administrator to sign these contracts. One, to DNR General Contracting in the amount of $634,510.34. And to approve a contract to Markings Inc. in the amount of $10,000. And allow the town to exceed over the $25,000 limit to the Millis Police Department, $30,500, and to keep a 10% contingency in this, for this project of $56,424.50. So I believe the only thing you really have to approve, if the town administrator corrects me, I believe is just DNR and the Markings Inc. The other two are just expenditures in the total overall cost of the contract. Before you do that, I can get into a breakdown of, how we're paying for this. Because this is probably one of the largest one I've ever proposed to put forward in front of the select board. So between what was left over from Chapter 90 funds and what was allocated for this year, there's $439,938.15. With the pending, July 1st, we can exceed start spending the $160,000 that was appropriated from the past town meeting. We did get clarification on the Winter Recovery Asset Assistance Program of $169,556, which we were told that we can spend that as part of these paving projects. And also in this is the DPW project, which the permanent building, I'm asking as part of the contract, they'll have to approve the expenditure of $73,265.50 at their next meeting. But we lumped this all into one project, and I think we did it better with pricing and all that. So that leads us to an available amount of $842,759.65. Even if you take away that $73,000, that's the largest amount of money we've had for quite a long time.
I'm sorry, Jim, could you
Yes.
run down the sources one more time? Chapter 90 from this year and last year was what?
Is $439,838.15.
You can stop at the thousands. I'm stopping at the thousands. 439,000. Okay, what's the next one? Town meeting was 160?
Is 160,
Yep. And winter recovery
And the
was
winter-
166.
169.
169,
Okay, thank you.
and the DPW was a 73 on the spreadsheet.
Thank you.
And so I can quickly explain what are we going to do with that money? We're gonna pave Main Street from Hammond Lane to approximately 1367 Main Street. That's the dog run. So that's quite a stretch of land. And included in the base bid number 2 was Pleasant Street from Main Street to Village Street. And as part of the base bid, the Millis DPW parking lot. But if you see in the spreadsheet, that's not calculated, that would be paid out of the project itself. So Chapter 90 funding, town meeting vote money are not paying for that whatsoever. So we were, with the money that we had, we were allowed to go to alternate 1, which is Village Street, and that's the intersection of Pleasant Street. And that would pretty much, Blueberry Lane, almost to the intersection where Pleasant veers off and it goes to the left down to Pleasant Street. And that should take care of that whole intersection with the hopes of next year, paving that end of Village Street, continue to Himmelfarb Street. And in alternate 2, as we've been talking for many, many years, paving the different sections where Toll Brothers did not complete the paving. As you drive up Exchange Street from the island down to Island Road, at Middlesex Street, you can see that, the different sides of the roads are just totally broken apart. So that is $731,434.84. And I think you have a copy of all the maps that I sent of what we're gonna do. We have already started, paving, not paving, but repair of roads this year. With there was 19,000 so left over from the previous town meeting. I think you all can see that we started crack sealing, and we crack sealed from Milliston Way up to the police station. We also did from Exchange Street all the way from Island Road all the way to the intersection of Main Street, and that was paved. Different parts of that have been paved over the past 5 years, but we did crack seal that. Crack sealing, if you don't maintain the roads, they're going to start to fall apart again. So this is that money being available was a big help that we could get a jump start on that. And I still have to take police details out of that, and whatever those funds that are still available, we will still use that for that remaining projects.
Okay. Any questions?
No, I think that's it. That's good detail, yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to authorize, is that what we're looking for now?
Yes, a motion to authorize
Yep.
the expenditure as presented in the total amount. I
Yeah.
believe it's $731,434.84. And to
That's correct.
authorize me to sign any contracts related thereto.
Yeah, I'll authorize the total expenditure, and I didn't write that number down, 731.
I'm sorry, 731,434.84.
$731,434.84 for road repaving, and authorize the town administrator to sign any contracts in accordance with this project.
Okay, I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to, the finance director did review all these numbers, so we know that they're correct. She did look at them before she went on vacation.
Yeah, I was trying to jot notes down so I could make the motion, but you're too fast. Okay. And I was rounding the nearest thousand, so I figured I had to get down to the 84 cents for the actual motion.
Excellent, thank you very
I do
much.
think we'll be back. I think we'll be back with more work, because we will expend, we'll try to expend fairly in what's needed with this amount of money. I do think we'll, the contingency, there's a lot of money there. So we'll be back, with maybe we can do some, rubber chip sealing and more crack sealing and stuff like that to maintain the roads. So it's great that, the town entrusted us with this money, and, we're going to try to do the best we can with it.
All right, thank you very much. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing we have on the agenda is the reappointment of boards and committees for fiscal year '23.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Beret, DeMarzo.
This is an annual event here at the Select Board. The Select Board is responsible for appointing several boards and committees here in town. And so every year, at the end of the fiscal year, which ends on 6/30, the board then reappoints anyone who is interested in being reappointed. It is not everyone who's serving on boards and committees, just those whose dates are expiring. Some boards are 1 year, some boards are 3 years, so we keep a track of all of that. And we're very thankful for all of the people who serve on these boards and committees, because we could not run the town without them, that is for sure. So a thank you in advance to all of these very willing residents.
Excellent. I will make a motion, I guess, to approve all of these reappointments as listed.
Second, the list will be published into
We
our
can-
minutes, so it'll be
And
available
we
online.
can post it online as
Let's post
well.
the list online right away, so
Yeah.
anybody who's curious about who we're appointing, instead of reading down 3 pages of appointments. But if we post this in the Select Board section of the website, you'll be able to look at all the appointments that are on there.
And I will be sending out an email, I will send an email out after to all of these members, letting them know that they have to get sworn in again before they actually come to a meeting and are allowed to vote, so we'll be sending that out.
Do you want to second that?
Yes, I thought I seconded and made a comment. Yeah, I second.
Okay. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the reappointments. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that passes unanimously.
I have a procedural question. Since I
Yes.
serve on some of these as voting members, do I have to get sworn in for those, or is it just understood?
No, I think we do.
You do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just
If
making
you are
sure.
a voting member, you do have to do
Yep.
it every single
Okay,
time.
I will do that.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. The next thing we have is the review and approval of the community impact agreement for the town social worker. Ms. Beret DeMarzo.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So before you, you have a contract for services here for a new social worker. I'm going to let Mike speak to a bit of how this all came about, just give a brief overview. I did work with the school, police and fire, as well as legal counsel on this contract, and I think we're at a very good point with it now, to now have you approve this evening.
And thank you, Madam Chair. Just a little background on this for those that may not be as familiar with it. This is a contract with Community Impact for basically consulting services for a social worker, and this is a town-wide social worker. This is being funded through the host community agreement impact funds. So it's no cost to the taxpayer. This has been a joint effort between the school department, the police department, the fire department, the Board of Health, and the Council on Aging to have a townwide social worker available, or several available through this firm, to assist with the many issues that come up and assistance that residents need throughout the town. So this office will be based out of the police station, but will be traveling to all the different departments and areas, and they'll be on call for emergency situations. We do believe, after my discussions with the different town officials, that this will be a very useful service for the community, and we will certainly be keeping data on its use to bring back to the board on its benefit to the community. So again, it's been a collaborative effort. I want to thank the school administration as well as our public safety chiefs, and also working with the senior director and the Board of Health. So I'm recommending that the board approve the contract this evening, and so that we can bring on their services starting July 1st.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract. I don't have the name of the company in front of me.
Community Impact.
With Community Impact, and have and authorize the town administrator sign the contract. we have to authorize your signature.
Yes, please.
Second, it's been moved and seconded to approve the community impact agreement for the town social worker and to authorize the town administrator to sign the contract. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's approved unanimously.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next item is review and approval of a phone contract with TPX. Ms. Beret DeMarzo?
Thank you. So TPX are the phones that we actually have in our offices here in town. And our IT director, Jim Donovan, had been notified through the school that their 911 system had not been set up. It's set up. What we did was change it here in Town Hall. If somebody calls from one of the offices, the police know immediately what office we're calling from. At the school, it was more of sections. They're now fixing it so that it will be exactly from the different rooms, which is just something that happens here with the TPX phones that we're allowed to do. In doing so, he was able to renegotiate the contract, and we're actually going to have a savings of about $2,400 a year. So it actually worked
Excellent.
out to the benefit of everything. And the school will be signing their contract separately. I believe they will be doing that shortly, but this is for the town side.
Okay.
Right, and this is, it's only about $8,000 per year, the contract, but because it's a 3-year contract, $24,000 does require the authorization and approval of the select board to authorize me to execute the contract.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to execute the contract with TPX for phone services.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to authorize the town administrator to sign the phone contract with TPX. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. The next thing we have is the review and approval of the water and sewer commitment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe in your packet, you received the Water and Sewer Department commitment from the collector for May of 2022. And I'm asking that the board approve the commitment for water and sewer in a total amount of $2,301.64.
Okay. So I'll move that we approve the water and sewer commitment for May of 2022 in the amount of $2,301.64.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
So then, that is pretty much our regular agenda for tonight. The next thing we have, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I'll make it quick. I just want to congratulate our new Assistant Town Administrator, Karen. She's worked here for a long time. I think the town has grown, and this will really make a difference, and there's no one more better than her for the job. So congratulations, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next, we are going to exit this session and enter executive session, where we'll be conducting strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with union personnel for SEIU and AFS-CME. We'll also be discussing strategy with respect to litigation, 12 to 14 Exchange Street, and to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property if the chair declares that an open meeting may be a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. Once we exit executive session, we will reemerge into regular session just for the purposes of adjournment. So I will need to poll the board to go into executive session.
I think I'm supposed to second that.
Are you, yeah?
Second.
Okay. Moved and second to go into executive session. Mr. Schultz?
Yes. Aye.
And I am an aye, so that passes unanimously. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great evening. I appreciate the new faces, so thank you for coming. Good night.
Good night.